Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar of the month. We are joined by Dwayne Barney, who will be talking about how to make money by building a strong business. So how are you today, Dwayne?
I'm doing pretty good.
All right, good deal, good deal. And so, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then you could get into your topic and I'll add on as you talk.
Okay. My background has been mainly residential construction. I've got a few years in commercial construction from back in the day. But the bulk of my career has been in commercial construction. I've worked for multiple companies along the way. I've owned my own company several times. And now I'm trying to help out anybody I can with their businesses.
So how do we build a strong business? What is that all about?
Well, building a strong business has to do with building the business structure itself. I like to equate it to the fact that, okay, so I'm a construction business advisor. But what does that mean? I look at it as I'm going to help you assemble your bicycle so you can learn to ride it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me explain what that means. Back in the 90s during the dot-com boom, I was on my way to see my attorney to see if bankruptcy was an option. In the midst of the largest construction boom that I had seen in my lifetime, my business was falling apart.
Wow.
So basically, I failed, so hopefully others don't have to. I learned the lesson.
Good deal.
And like I said, I started my career in commercial construction. I worked for a large firm in DC. And one of the things that shaped me there was one day the president of the company, during a speech, said, "We're not a construction company." He said, "We are a business. We're here to make money. We just happen to make our money in construction." And that really got me. That was the start of me really looking at business differently and what that really meant to be in the business or to be working on the business. Now, I stayed with them for a few years after that. I got into residential, and eventually I started my own company, which was the ill-fated company that I spoke about earlier,
Okay.
which ultimately crashed. After that, I went and got a job with a high-end remodeling contractor or a high-end builder, actually, and I ran their remodeling division with no intention of ever going back into business myself. So I do not need that pain and suffering ever again. And after the crash of '08, I found myself unemployed, and the construction industry was very light on jobs and prospects. And I really had to consider the fact that I needed to go back into business for myself, which ultimately I did. At the time, I had just dropped my son off at college, still had a mortgage to pay, and I needed to make money. So starting my business meant I had to put the tool belt back on. I needed to earn some money, and I needed to earn it fast. But I was determined to take it off as soon as I possibly could. Mm-hmm. I had the systems in place from my previous company. So I had a good running start starting my second business. And it took off. Pretty soon I had work coming in. And this is during the crash. Mm-hmm. I was able to pick up a lot of work. And before I knew it, I was working 18 hours a day, trying to keep up with the production, trying to get the sales and estimating done, and just the general business nature, get all of that stuff completed. It was unbearable. I was exhausted. So I started bringing on a carpenter. I eventually brought on a project manager to help me with any of the paperwork or client relation matters that she could possibly handle. And ultimately, I outsourced bookkeeping.
Okay.
Now, I was scared to death at this point. I'm like, how am I going to pay for all of these people? It put me into a panic. It was a lot of stress. I'm happy to report none of them ever missed a paycheck, and neither did I.
Awesome.
So that was the really good news. As a result of all of that, I started looking back on it and I said, my schedule is actually getting better. I am making more money now than I've ever made in my entire life. And I'm working a normal 40-hour work week. What have I done here?
That's what our listeners want to know. And then a lot of the people we work with is, how do you achieve that in that set amount of time and not work too much beyond that 40-hour work week?
Right. Well, that's the big challenge. I mean, honestly, that's why we all go into business. You know, we want a freer lifestyle. We don't want the boss, you know, and if we don't do it right, we end up looking at it one day going, I've got a terrible boss. Mm-hmm. That's me and my business. And I am a slave driver. I am working myself to death. And that becomes the challenge. But I had happy clients. I was making money. And it took me 20 years to learn that. My goal now is to make sure it doesn't take everybody else 20 years to learn it themselves.
So let us know. What did you learn? What did you learn?
What did I learn? Well, what I learned, what I want to talk to you about today is exactly that, the build stage of your business. Those birth through teenage years, which in a business and in life are terrible years. They're fraught with all kinds of problems. And the three things I want to talk about are the big idea, your big idea in your business, and why it's important. The second is growth, the things that go wrong in growth and how to prevent them. And the third is integration.
Okay.
And how you get the systems in your business to work together as one single entity. Now, this forms the basic DNA of a business. When I was building houses, I was given a set of plans. I knew exactly what I was building. And the challenge for most of us as entrepreneurs is we start our own business. We don't have a plan. We don't have a structure. We don't know where we're going with this. It's not clear. It's not laid out like it is for me in building. I know what that house is going to look like when it's done. This is why 95% of all small businesses actually fail, because there was no plan. And one of the big things entrepreneurs need to understand, we all come from some background, and we usually open our business around that background. I became a contractor because I know building. A printer is going to open a print shop. A chef is going to open a restaurant. But when we start our own business, we change careers. Well, what does that mean? I changed careers. I'm still working in construction. I'm still working in my restaurant. It means we need to stop focusing on really what we know and what we do, and we need to start focusing on building the business. That is our new job.
I like that. I like that idea, because that's that mindset shift from an employee mindset to an entrepreneur's mindset of knowing that it's not just about the industry or the trade that you know, but you also have to be a business person. And that's what I find a lot as well, is that
right.
You know, a lot of people don't understand that part. Yeah.
Right. And that's the big challenge. Schools teach us and train us to work in the industrial environment. Part of the Industrial Revolution still. We're taught to punch a time clock. We're not taught how to be entrepreneurs. So this is a foreign world to most of us. And that's one of the big challenges. So the big thing to really start with when you're starting your business is everybody had a big idea. Some reason they were going to start their business. So let's talk about that big idea. How does that formulate your business and why it's so important? Now, I like to look at it myself as when I was in high school, I was on the weightlifting team. And one of my best events was the clean and jerk. You know the one where the heavy weight's on the floor and the competitor lifts it over his head. Kind of a crazy event, but I was actually well suited for it. I wasn't real strong, but it requires strength and stability.
Okay.
And stability is the key. Now, what happens here? The competitor starts out, sets his feet, gets his hands on the right position on the bar, and he only lifts it a couple of feet off the ground. and he dives underneath it, putting it on his chest and standing up, and regains his balance and stability.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's the idea stage of your business.
Okay.
You've got this great idea. You're willing to work at it a little bit. You're willing to go there, but you're not yet committed. It's on your chest. You're still thinking about it. You haven't quit your job. You can walk away at any moment. You can drop that weight right to the floor. But the next step is crucial. The next step is when you get committed. The lifter does basically the same thing. He pops that weight up just a few feet and dives underneath it again, raising it over his head and again regaining his balance and stability.
Okay.
He's full in. He started his business. Everything is committed. The family, the house, the kids, the dog, everything is in. And that, for me, is the beginning of the business model. So what we're looking at is we've got our weightlifter well over his head. The big point now is to maintain stability. Everything you've got to do is keep that weight up in the air and keep it stable, or it's all going to come crashing down. And so this forms what I like to look at as the base of the business model, which is a conical shape that continually wants to tilt over. You need that stability to keep your business stable. So you've got the business owner in the middle of the business model at its core, keeping it stable. And what is important at this point is keeping focused on that big idea, because knowing where you are and where you're going helps you to make good, solid decisions.
I love that. I'm gonna just interrupt you real quick.
Yep.
I'm gonna actually look at the Olympics that's gonna be on this summer a whole different way when I'm looking at that event. I'm gonna look at when I'm watching. I'll be like, that's the business model. So
there you go. And when that guy puts that weight on his chest and drops it down, you'll go, oh, he gave up.
Yeah, he didn't have the stability right. That's what I'm gonna say.
Right. So once you have your focus and you know where your business is going and you've got a clear idea on this, like I said, it makes making your decisions much easier, because then you can look at every decision you make and go, is it moving me towards my goal? I heard of a crew boat coach once who answered every suggestion with one response. So does it make the boat go faster? Now he's willing to look at suggestions, give him ideas all day long, but he had one single focus. Does it make the boat go faster? My clients understand what their focus is, and their boat, their business goes faster.
I like that.
So now you know where you're going, and it's time to get started. So now let's take a look at growth. What does growth mean as far as your business goes? Now, as we know, the first thing that we're going to want to do when we start a business is we're going to want to get a sale. That's what we need. We need a sale, and we start off and we get one. And I'm going to work this through what I call the business map.
Okay.
Now, the business map consists of 3 core elements of our business. It consists of our money, our advertising, and production. These are the 3 core elements of every business that the business owner needs to focus on. That sounds simple. We know it's not that simple, but in the big picture, that's the focus of the business owner, is getting those 3 elements right and getting them equally right. So what happens is we start out with a sale, which is coming from our advertising. So we start out with our sale. What's the next thing we got to do? As entrepreneurs, we're wearing all the hats. So now we're into production. The salesman now goes into production and we're off with our business. Now we're not working for free. We're gonna need some money. So we head up into the money stage and our cycle comes around and it's complete because we're in construction. And what do we do in construction? We work our way out of work.
Mm-hmm.
So the cycle starts over. So we're back here in sales and we move on to production and we move on to our money and we continue. And with each cycle, this hopefully expands.
Mm-hmm.
That's business growth. That's what we're looking for. Now, the challenge is, if you will imagine with me, this outer ring represents the 18-hour day. I consider it the 18-hour day because for me personally, that's the limit of what I could ever put in. Beyond that, I'm a zombie. That's my limit of sanity right there. But as an entrepreneur, and we're moving through this cycle, we are approaching the 18-hour day. We're approaching that limit of sanity. And that's when I started to get crazy. I needed help. That's when I brought on my project manager, my carpenter, and I started to outsource my bookkeeping because I was reaching the limits of this 18-hour day. Now, the other thing that happens is because this is a conical shape, as we're moving around, as the entrepreneur, the single person in the business, we're moving around this cycle. This business model leans towards our efforts. So if we're over here doing sales, this wants to lean in this direction. Mm-hmm. And I would run as fast as I could to the other side to keep the whole thing in balance. I was exhausted because we've got to work on all three elements of this business and we've got to keep it stable and in balance. So what did I need? Counterweights. Mm-hmm. That's where bringing in the people and the systems started to fill the seats and give me counterweights in my business to keep it stable as it was growing.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So I'll expand that out here for a little bit. As it continues to grow and we start to scale, our business starts to get larger. The outer ring has grown. This center core represents the last board that I had up there. It's still there. This is our 18-hour day where we're going crazy, which I like with the red line because it kind of represents that old cartoon Crazy Simple. There's a method.
Yeah, if I look at it too much, I may zone out too.
There you go. There's a method to my madness. So this center core is the owner. This is the owner of the company, and we've got our three individual elements as the business continues to grow. And as it grows, it wants to expand. It wants to scale. And the owner's role in the center is to maintain that big idea, to make sure the company values are being adhered to as the company grows. As it gets larger, are we maintaining who we want to be and what we represent to our customers?
Okay.
So it continues to grow, and as it grows, an org chart starts to develop in each individual segment. I kind of drew one here just to give a representation. But depending on the growth of your business, each individual element, your money, your advertising, and your production will have their own teams that focus on their specialty. And they're all doing their jobs and they're all working together. Now, a lot of people get to this stage, and I know I did, and they say, I can't hire all these people. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to go down that road.
Right.
But I'm here to tell you, you can't afford not to. The growth of your business as a solopreneur is totally limited to your hours in a day. You your company will only grow to that 18-hour limit of sanity. If you're going to get anywhere beyond that, you've got to start bringing on people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't have to bring on full-time people. You don't have to hire 20 people and have a huge payroll. In today's, electronic world, you can outsource that. I mean, my bookkeeper's in Arizona. You can outsource these things. You can bring people on for a few hours a week and plug them into your systems. But you have to know where they fit in. And you have to be willing to let go.
That's the hardest thing. What you just said right there. That's one of the hardest things for the business owner is to let go. I found that over and over to be able to turn, because that's their baby.
That's their baby.
And it's hard to let go.
Yes, but just like a child, I mean, you've got young children.
Yes.
You take care of them, you nurture them, you teach them everything they need to know to grow up. They're going to grow up. There's no stopping that. And the same is true with your business. Your business wants to grow. Mm-hmm. It wants to be successful. The people in your business want to get promoted. They're going to want raises. The company needs to continue to expand.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, as I said in the beginning, this is kind of like those birth through teenage years, those growing pains. It's going to grow. You as a parent need to teach your kids what they need to do to someday go out on their own. Mm-hmm. The same objective is true for our business. We need to put the systems and the people in place so it can grow, and we don't have to do everything. Because the growth of our business, like I said, is going to be strictly limited to the number of hours in a day if we hold on to everything ourselves. And part of the key to letting go is to make sure that the people know, as you bring them on, what you expect from them. Mm-hmm. You may know what you need, but unless you can clearly communicate that to the new employees, you're not going to get what you want. And that is the only way to scale. You've got to let go. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have systems, you need to start there.
Yeah, and I'll just add on, because we were talking before this began, we had a snowstorm here in the Texas area, which a lot of you all might know, and I was without internet for a while, but I actually had team members that are not in Texas that were able to pick up the ball and have everything happen while I was out of commission. If I didn't give up that control, I would be way behind right now if I didn't have that in place. So that is 100% true.
Right. And it's a great feeling when it happens. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, stuff got done?
Yeah.
It's a really, really nice feeling. And that's what happened to me on my second business is things would get done. My people would handle it. People would handle the problems because they knew what I expected. And I didn't have to be involved in every conversation and every problem, ordering every piece of lumber. My people knew how to do that. They knew what I expected. They knew what the clients expected. And it was a great, great feeling.
That is so true.
And I was able to walk away. I mean, I could go to the beach for a week and come back and everything was fine. So
I just found that out because I went away for a week and everything is fine. So now I was not at the beach, but
well, you got to try out the beach thing next.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to talk about, the third key point to growing and scaling your business is the item I talked about, which is integration.
Okay.
Now, as I said, you've got these three elements. You've got your money, you've got your advertising. Your advertising is your sales and marketing. Production for construction is field and office. Mm-hmm. And your money is your finance and your bookkeeping. But these three all have their own focus and their own goals. As the business owner, your role, like I said, is here in the center, making sure your big idea is being disseminated throughout the company. Mm-hmm. and then everybody is staying focused on what the direction you want for your company. But the other major role are these lines that bridge these elements. Those three lines represent integration. Each one of these elements has to be set up so they work with the other elements. So sales and advertising is going to do their sales and marketing and advertising job. They may know nothing about building.
Right.
But the information that comes out of sales and estimating has to be able to be used easily by the production team. They need to know what they're going to build. So this point of integration is a key role of the owner, is to make sure that Group 1 is doing what Group 1 needs to do, but that the information Group 1 produced can be used by Group 2. If production doesn't know what they're building, it doesn't matter what you sold.
Right.
You can sell stuff all day long. I can't build it. And if the numbers don't work, no one's going to be happy. And so we're back up here into the numbers section. So all three of these have to work together, and that's one of the key roles as the owner, is disseminating the ideas and making sure the company remains completely integrated in all of its systems. Now, as the business scales, this instability we talked about is going to continue. It's going to grow in certain directions. You might have a big bump in sales. It's going to start to go one direction. But managing that stability is now the fun of running the business instead of the scramble.
Right.
This is the knowledge I wish I had when I started my first business.
So is that what they, when I always hear that's about working on your business, not in your business?
Correct.
That's what they're talking about there?
Correct. Now you're working on your business. Now you're working on the systems, making sure things are integrated. You're working on the flow of ideas. You're looking at the growth. You're not looking about, do I need more 2x4s?
Right.
Should I start a new marketing campaign? You may have an idea for a marketing campaign, but you've got people who are handling that now.
Right.
You're now working on the business and making sure that business as an entity can essentially run by itself. You can go on vacation. This will all continue without you. As you said earlier, it's one of the hardest things for a business owner.
Oh, yeah.
It's our baby. And it's just as hard as dropping your kids off at college. There comes a time when they got to leave the nest. They got to grow up, and hopefully you've taught them everything they need to know to be responsible citizens. And that's what we're doing with the business, except our responsible citizen comes back is hopefully it's learned everything it needs to know to keep making me money.
Right.
That's what we're trying to build. So this stability obviously is good. But the chaos that's currently surrounding most businesses costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of time. And unfortunately, it's their money. They've earned this money. They literally just don't have time to collect it. So I'll remind everyone of what I heard back right after I got out of college in my first job. We're not a construction company. We're a business. We're here to make money. We just happen to make our money in construction.
I love that. I love that.
So I know I've covered a lot here. I tried to compress it down for everyone, so because I could talk about this for several hours.
Yeah.
if you don't put a wall out there for me, you're going to get me rambling on forever. But the biggest challenge in all of this, as you expressed, is change. And if anyone sees anything about this chaos that resembles their business, they need to sit down and really consider changing how they're doing things. They need to look back at that big idea Are they focused? Do they know where they're going? Where is the business going? Where is it taking their life? What is the purpose of their business? Who do they serve? What problem do they solve? The second one is to look at growth. Seriously be prepared for growth. Know how you're going to grow. Managed growth. And start putting those systems in place so you're ready to hire people.
Right.
And the third key thing is be prepared from the very beginning to integrate your systems. Making sure production can build what sales is selling. Making sure that finance and accounting are getting the data they need to evaluate the profitability of your projects and your jobs, and make sure those numbers are being fed back to sales and your estimating people to make sure you're maximizing your profitability. And the big thing is to remember, this is essential work as the business owner. This is important. And the business owner needs to make sure they get the support they need to make sure their business is going to be successful.
I like that. I like that. We have a few questions that have come in. Let me see a few of these. One is...
I love the test portion.
So one is there a way to have that happen right at the start, where you're not having to work in the business, where you could bring somebody on right at the start and not have to do everything at the start? Is there a way to handle it?
There is a way to handle it. You need some upfront financing, obviously, to do that. If you're going to hire early on and you're not going to grow into your revenue stream, you're going to need some upfront financing. But some of those growth elements are going to be required as far as building the business. You're going to have to struggle through it. You may not have to be in the weeds as much, but deciding how your systems work together, what systems you need, what people you need to bring on, that core battle of starting the business kind of has to be there to build that foundation. The only real way around that is to franchise, to buy a franchise.
Right.
You know, that's kind of like adopting the child.
Yes.
You skip those infant years. You know, you adopt a 10-year-old, and you're like, oh, okay, what's so hard about this? I get plenty of sleep.
You miss all the late nights and middle of the morning, having to wake up in the morning. Yeah, I don't miss that time either.
Right. So if you're going to build it from the beginning, it's hard to skip all of those steps. You can get through some of them.
Okay.
But the only real way to jump over that is to go into franchising. It's to buy a franchise, buy a McDonald's, buy a auto parts dealer, whatever you want, whatever business you want to get into. They have solved a lot of that upfront problem.
Okay.
That you don't have to fight through. And that's the beauty of a franchise. Just has a cost associated with it.
Right. Now, the next question we have here, this is an interesting one. So she said when she started her design business, she didn't actually have the pricing right. And so she was not pricing enough to actually make enough profit to then turn it around to put back into the business. So she actually hired a coach last year, and she's managed that. What advice would you have new people in terms of how to organize and have the pricing right at the start so you don't have to go through what she went through?
Well, I think one of the key elements there, as business owners, we kind of have a tendency to look at our time as free.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I worked all day in the business. I was out doing my design thing, and then I got home and I did all my accounting thing. And I do the accounting thing for free.
Mm-hmm.
But if you set up your business and your books and account for all of the activities that you do,
right,
and figure out, okay, if I had to pay an accountant, if I had to pay an estimator, if I had to, pay a carpenter, whatever business you happen to be in, a mechanic, I had to pay a guy to make the pizza, whatever business you're in, if you said I had to pay all those people, what should I be charging to cover those costs? That's what you should be charging. That is your cost of doing business. You're just putting in sweat equity.
Right.
You're doing a lot of work for free to build this, but you've got to look at your back end pricing as if you were paying somebody else, because hopefully and ultimately someday you will, and your pricing is going to be way off base.
I like that. Okay. Okay. We have another question here asking about, how do you know when it's time to hire somebody? I know that's a broad question.
It's a great question. You feel it. You know it. For me personally, I literally got to the point where I said, I either have to start bringing people on,
mm-hmm.
or I need to walk away.
Right.
The business can't continue the way it is. I can't take care of the customers the way I want to take care of the customers. I can't get material ordered in a timely manner to make sure my production people can do their jobs. I can't do it any longer. There becomes a point where you've got to recognize that you just can't do it all. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of us as entrepreneurs, like you said, it's our baby. We want to take care of it. We want to hold on to it as long as we can. Letting go is very difficult, and it is a big challenge. If you set your mindset in the beginning to understand that someday you're going to start letting pieces go, it's not as hard. Mm-hmm. Because then you just say, yes, it's time. I have a bookkeeping system set up. It works. Here's how it works. It goes bing, bang, boom, Monday, Thursday, Friday. This is what happens. I bring on a bookkeeper and say, this is what I need done. You're prepared. Your system is in place. They spend a few hours a week, and you got more free time to concentrate on your customers, sales, production, whatever it is, the stuff that you need to get done. But you need to prepare for it, and when it's time, you'll know.
Okay. Okay. And while you were explaining about the transition, we have somebody asking about their transitioning out, and they are actually trying to prepare one of their sons to take over the business. He's not all the way at that point yet. So how do you handle it where he's not ready, but you're ready to get out?
Well, one of the key elements there is going to be is when you're setting up your business and you're building the business model, you're building it for profitability. Mm-hmm. You're also building it to transition.
Right.
Hopefully you built this business that someday you can either sell it, or you can hand it off to your children, or somehow it's got intrinsic value. That's all that sweat equity you put in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you've built a lot of value into this business, and those systems are in place. So when it's time to transition, you obviously have to transition to somebody who can start handling it.
Right.
So you can't just run away from it. But if your systems are in place, if you have your sales and your marketing systems in place, you have your production systems in place, you have all of your money integrated, the theory would be anybody could pick it up. You just need to teach them how to operate these systems. And having those systems in place and having them integrated and working means maybe that person taking over is going to slowly transition into that and see how all of these things work together. Mm-hmm. While they're learning, maybe you want them hanging cabinets or making pizza or whatever it is that you're doing. You want them to learn that element of the business, but they need to understand how things get ordered, how the money works, when do you need financing, how to make sure payroll's covered, all of those important things. But if those systems are in place, then they can transition into those as well. But having an integrated business that has those systems makes it much easier.
This is just a follow-up that he was asking. He was saying he has all that in place, and his son has just not been as serious as he would want him to be. And he asked this follow-up. He said, what if he was just to take a week off, like you say, go to the beach and not answer the phone or whatever, just to see how he handles it? Just to almost like you know how some people teach their small kids how to swim?
Right, throw them in the water.
Throw them in the water. So would that be advisable? Just let him see how it is without having, because he feel like he's a hindrance right there, because he knows he has him
to fall back on. Yeah. No, that can be a challenge, especially when you do the family transition.
Right.
I think walking away from a week, if your systems are in place, the business isn't going to crash in a week. Your people are going to take care of things. It isn't going to be a firestorm when you get back. But it definitely would give an opportunity to see how things are run and see the challenges of running a business and see that running a business is work.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot of work, and there is a lot to do, and there are important decisions to be made every single day. And to experience that without, dad or, whoever it is, always looking over your shoulder where you kind of got the backstop would be good experience. And I've seen it done where the transition happens and the former owner of the company slowly walks away.
Okay.
Shows up maybe once a day for an hour or so, just to keep everybody warm and comfortable. And then once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then sits in on a board meeting once a month. And then kind of stops showing up because everything is running fine.
So it's like weaning them off.
Them off. But the shock therapy may be a good therapy just to bring reality to surface. This is serious stuff. This is important. This isn't just something to do, if you don't show up tomorrow, everything will be fine. No, it's important. And then, then slowly start walking away. Okay. Be there as a backstop, but not every day, not every hour. Don't be available every hour. If you get a phone call, wait 3 hours before you return it. Maybe it gets solved while you're not available.
He actually said he lives at IKEA during the week where he's not there, and then after he sees this, then begin the wean off process so he can see like this is real. So he likes that. All right. I think if there's any other questions, you can ask them, but this is what Dwayne does all the time. He helps businesses get to that next level. So Dwayne, let the people here and the people that are watching on the replay, how do they get in contact with you if they have any more questions or if they want to hire you to help them out?
Well, the easiest ways to get a hold of me are, my email is dwayne@dcbuilds.com. You can find me on LinkedIn all day, every day. I've got a lot of information up there. Please connect with me there. I'd be more than happy to connect with you and answer any questions there. I will also offer anybody 30 minutes of free consultation. If they just want to talk to somebody about where their business is, what they should be doing next, or they just need somebody to talk to, I'm available. I'll give anybody 30 minutes as long as I can fit it into my schedule to just see where they are in their business and what they should be doing next. This benefits me greatly also. So this is me being a little bit selfish, because talking to other business people and understanding where they are and what their struggles are helps teach me new things every single day that I can use then to help other people. So I truly enjoy spending that 30 minutes with business owners and hearing where their struggles are. Anybody who wants to just reach out to me, again, direct message me on LinkedIn, send me an email. We'll set up a call and see what we can do for your business. If anybody has any questions, they can reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help them. And I hope this helped everybody. I hope this helped somebody really think about what it means to build a business and the importance of doing exactly that. Building that business and focusing on that role as the owner of the company.
Love it. Dwayne, we love having you here. And next month, we'll be talking about emotional intelligence software. We're going to talk about how to integrate that, and so you can have better business operations and better client engagement and better client communication. So be with us next month when we talk about that. And we hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next month. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate the time.